A character's growth is one of the most interesting things to watch in any sort of series, but that's especially true for a series that relies heavily on action or adventure. I'm sure you know what I mean. The protagonist and his friends usually end up looking for the next bigger sword, the next bigger spell, the next bigger mech, etc. And while this formula is very entertaining, sometimes you want to see something new. So instead of watching a weak and mediocre main character grow into a godlike figure, how about something where the protagonist is already godlike? Hello audience and welcome to Yvern's Box. Today we'll be looking at the anime known as Kaze no Stigma, or Stigma of the Wind, a 24-episode anime series adapted from a light novel written by Takahiro Yamato by Studio Gonzo under the direction of Junichi Sakata. Gonzo also worked on other series like Full Metal Panic, Welcome to the NHK, and even Afro Samurai. Still, if Kaze's only selling point was a not so useless protagonist. So in the world of Kaze no Stigma, there are some rare gifted individuals that have the ability to control the elements such as fire, water, wind, and earth, much like the benders in Avatar. And like in Avatar, it seems that these people are divided amongst themselves depending on what element they have mastery over. However, life is very strict for these people. They usually try to stay away from your average person and conceals their powers in order not to cause chaos. As such, people have high expectations for members of their family. So, the story follows Kazuma, the eldest son of the Kanagi family, a family that specializes in Enjutsu, aka firebending. However, it would seem that he has no talent for fire manipulation and eventually even loses in a duel against a much younger relative. Following his defeat, his father becomes furious and eventually exiles him from the family. Years later, Kazuma reappears under a new name and turns out to have become the greatest master of Fujutsu, or airbending. Interestingly, his reappearance coincides with many attacks and troubles that start appearing within his former clan, and people start suspecting him. Now the setting is very interesting considering how it does the reverse of a typical action anime. Instead of watching Kazuma's journey to become stronger, viewers skip all that and head straight for the quote-unquote juicier parts of the series. Additionally, Kazuma's role as a sort of anti-hero is very refreshing because he doesn't hesitate in killing or any other villainous acts if it will get him what he wants. Additionally, the events that unfold in Kaze no Stigma are also entertaining, all while keeping some elements of both the modern world and the magical world. Granted, there are some filler episodes here and there, but as interesting as Kaze no Stigma is, its single most fatal flaw is most definitely its ending, or should I say the lack of thereof. See, the anime ended on a cliffhanger and that is never good. Now, I'm sure that some of you out there might think that it's alright since eventually the rest of the light novel will get adapted. And that's where the sad part kicks in. See, the reality is that Takahiro Yamato has already passed on. What this means is that for all the interesting characters you'll meet, for all the entertaining story segments you'll experience, and for all the relaxing fun you've had, you'll never know what happens next. Reality sure is cruel, because Kaze really was a whole lot of fun. The characters of Kaze really are average. It tends to want to follow preset character molds and archetypes. You have the tsundere, the blonde chick, the sometimes useful dude, cool old man, not cool old man, etc. However, that in and of itself is not really a problem. Just cause something falls into conventional standards doesn't necessarily dilute the fun. Kazuma is by far the saving grace of the series. He's the cool guy that everybody wants to be. Big mouth, but with the power to back it up. However, he isn't perfect either, which is what really sells. He is haunted by his past, yet bound by his present, though to what extent we'll never know. Additionally, the unconventional power by anime standards of wind manipulation is also refreshing. Oddly enough, Kazuma's main romantic interest in the series seems to be his distant relative, Ayano. Yes, this is Wincest. Anyway, Ayano is actually the same distant relative that had managed to beat Kazuma in a duel as a kid. Ayano is much more naive, arrogant, and stubborn, but this makes her a refreshing contrast to the comparatively cool and collected Kazuma. At the same time, her moral standards makes her keep Kazuma in check, and while some might find her annoying, I'm sure some others will find her quite charming. At the same time, seeing her struggle to keep her true powers from the rest of the classmates is also pretty interesting. The rest of the characters sort of are one-trick ponies, usually not bringing much to the table after their initial appearance. But even if they are one-trick ponies, it doesn't stop the series from being enjoyable. 2007 was an important year for anime in general, with many of today's most talked about series originating from that year. But it's really hard to say whether Kaze no Stigma was pretty or not. It certainly wasn't the anime with the highest budget, nor the prettiest art, nor the best music and sound, but it did get what it needed across. The flames and the wind effects were good enough, the animation was fluid enough, the character designs were good looking enough, the music was enjoyable enough, but that's what it really was, enough. The first opening, Blast of Wind, sung by Saori Kyuji, fit the anime well, which was always a plus, but at the same time neither the opening nor the endings were anything extraordinary. The music added here and there were interesting enough, but it's easy to forget. However, from an overall point of view, Kaze no Stigma wasn't anything to need to hate on. With an interesting enough story, likable enough characters, pretty enough aesthetics, Kaze no Stigma provided a more than decent package. However, its flaws and missing elements really can't push it anywhere beyond the boundaries of decent. Granted, Kaze no Stigma was more than an enjoyable series, one that makes you laugh and lightens your mood. For alternate recommendations, I would recommend The Sacred Blacksmith and Index, because those two gave off a similar vibe as Kaze no Stigma. Thank you all for watching my review of the anime known as Kaze no Stigma. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please leave a like and subscribe, because that really keeps me motivated to make more content. I post new anime reviews every Saturday, while also releasing some other videos randomly whenever I feel like it. So stay tuned for that. Anyway guys, thank you all for watching. This has been Yvern and my box.